Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alix, and today I want to talk about my top 10 reads of the entire year. That's right. It's time. I had a lot of fun making this list, and I'm also gonna include my top 3 series that I read because I did read 3 completed series that I didn't want to just choose one of the books to be part of my top 10 books. I just felt that these series deserved to be acknowledged on their own. So that's what we're gonna do. And I'm also not gonna make this intro very lengthy. And last bit of housekeeping, this is in no particular order. I don't track my stats closely enough, I would say, to really say like one of these. I don't know. I might be getting ahead of myself. I would say that I have maybe a top 3, but this, just for the sake of ease, I just want to talk about the first 10 books that came to mind when I sat down and I made this list. The first one is Grave Empire by Richard Swan. This is the first in the Great Silence trilogy, I believe, and book 2 is coming out in March. I cannot wait. This is the epitome of grimdark fantasy. This is so witchy and dark and bleak and has just such an ominous tone throughout the entirety of it. The world building is fantastic. It's very rich in lore, and I do believe this is connected to the Justice of Kings trilogy, which is high up on my list for 2026. In fact, let me write that down. But anyway, this is following a multitude of POVs and characters. We swap back and forth. They are on different parts of the continents, and we have a few different conflicts going on, the majority of which is circling around basically a rift in the worlds between the human world and the spirit world, and we're gonna have a problem, okay? The spirits are not happy. They're not able to go to the afterlife. The monks believe this is the start of an ancient prophecy heralding the end of days, the Great Silence. It falls to Renata Rayner, a low-ranking ambassador to an enigmatic and vicious race of mermen, to seek answers from those who still practice the arcane arts. So we do follow Renata, and then we also follow a couple of bad guys, and I just think this is just one of the most explosive and richest beginnings to a series that I've read in quite some time, and I will absolutely be rereading this when book 2 comes out in March. So this might have been in the top 3. I'm still going in no particular order. You guys can tell me in the comments if you think being ridiculous and I actually do have a favorite out of these. The next one is going to be a twofer, and so this might be 11, but I feel like it's not fair to talk about one and not talk about the other, and that is The Tainted Cup and A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. These books are so good. They are fantastical murder mysteries in a very advanced and intelligent and rich fantasy world. Our 2 main characters are Ana and her assistant Dinios. Ana cannot see, and Dinios is kind of her ears and eyes, but we find out a lot more about her character throughout these books, even though her main focus is solving the mysteries. That is what honestly both of the books are, but they follow obviously 2 different murder mysteries, and I just really like Robert Jackson Bennett's writing, and I desperately want this trilogy, which I do think it's going to become a hopefully completed trilogy in 2026. I hope it is a better ending than we got in the Founders Side trilogy, which I'm still not quite over or able to stop thinking about. Next up, we have Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zeng. This is by Kylie Lee Baker, and this is a short, sweet, absolutely gut-wrenching, full of great body horror and themes on racism and classism. This book has everything. I was shocked from page, honestly, 1 all the way up until the very end of this book, both by the horror elements and the body horror and just the absolute, like, just no shame in Kylie Lee Baker's game to really make a character hurt. So we are following our main character, Cora, who is a crime scene cleaner after something horrific happens, which I don't even care if it says it on the front. I think you should go into this completely blind because that's how I read it, and I think I just had such a great experience doing it that way. I definitely want to reread this in 2026. In fact, I'm having a lot of video ideas here because I would like to start rereading favorites more and maybe deep dive into them, but I'm constantly torn between wanting to revisit familiar worlds and wanting to completely dissociate in all of the new shit that comes out every freaking week. It's hard to keep up. Okay, that was Bat Eater. The Everlasting by Alix E. Harrow. Speaking of rereads, I actually just read this a few months ago. I had an arc and I think I read it in September, and I picked up a physical copy because A, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's everything I've ever wanted, okay? And I'm gonna reread it immediately. I don't think I've ever reread, actually not ever, but I don't know the last time that I reread a book so soon after the first time that I read it. And I think that speaks volumes about how beautiful this story is. This beautiful love that is spanning time and distance. Seeing both Owen and Sir Una's kind of timelines and perspectives on their shared story together. I just think there's nothing wrong with this book. And I do declare there is some artwork in this, perhaps, because Allie was sending me pictures of it. Oh, and I'm already a fan of, so I already think this is going to be, first of all, I'm going to tab, obviously. I need to annotate this because the writing is absolutely perfect, beautiful, gorgeous in this. I read the arc, and all of this formatting was not as nice as it is here, so we kind of have snippets of emails back and forth between the professors. So yeah, this is the epitome of Lady Night, and this also is going to make a perfect segue into our next book that is on my top 10 list. But I read the first book by Alix E. Harrow that I had ever read, Starling House, earlier this year for one of my Book of the Month challenges, which I'll link up below. I'll link up below, which I'll link up on the screen somewhere. But this just is her writing taken to an absolute next level. It's very mature, it's very romantic, there's a lot of yearning, there is strong notes of feminism and what family means, and really found family, like best friend type soulmate found family. And I just really love this book. I cried reading the end of it. I'm very excited to reread it. And look at this map. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, honestly, this might be my favorite book of the year. I mean, I'm rereading it 2-3 months after the first time that I read it. So I take back everything that the beginning of me at this video said. I think this might be my favorite book of the year. So let's just keep talking about the rest of them. Here is that segue that I was so happy that I just created for myself. The next book on this list is The Night and the Moth by Rachel M. Gillig. I love everything about Rachel's writing. I absolutely fell in love with the Shepherd King duology when it first came out. And in fact, that should also be on my list of rereads for next year because it's just one of the most unique and interesting and lush and romantic and gothic settings that I have read in a long time. I love the nightmare character. I love our two female badass main characters in the two books that we follow and their love stories. So, I mean, I had high hopes for this book and she absolutely delivered. The Night and the Moth is following another lady knight. In this one, we have Sybil, who is part of this coven of seers who are blindfolded all the time, and basically people come from all over the land to this cathedral that they live at and work at so they can foresee their future. And things go a little bit haywire when a knight comes with a couple of characters in tow. Rude, heretical, and devilishly handsome, the knight Roderick has no respect for Sybil's visions, but when Sybil's fellow diviners begin to vanish one by one, she has no choice but to seek his help in finding them. For the world outside the cathedral's cloister is wrought with peril. Only the gods have the answers she is seeking, and as much as she'd rather avoid Roderick's dark eyes and sharp tongue, only a heretic can defeat a god. Yeah, so you have a beautiful book, okay? You have sprayed edges that matter. You have lady knights, you have yearning, you have will they, won't they, you have, honestly, in my opinion, he falls first. I loved this so much. I absolutely cannot wait for book 2. This ended on such an explosive note, and the characters are just so beautiful. Like, Rachel writes her female main characters strong, and it makes you want to imagine yourself as this main character. They're believable in the feats that they can accomplish, and I am just so here for the Lady Knight thing, that like the theme of Lady Knights that we are getting in fantasy and romantasy lately. Which, please let me know down below if you think I should read The Second Life of Locke, or The Second Death of Locke. I've been seeing that one everywhere, but I know some people who have DNF'd it, so I need thoughts on that. Okay, next up, I do have the third book of a trilogy that I finished that didn't quite make it to my top 3 series of the year, but it is The Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne. This is the third book in the Bloodsworn saga, and I can't really talk too much about what happens in this book, right, without spoiling it, because it's the third book in a trilogy. But this series is a very dark and kind of reminiscent of Winterfell, Game of Thrones, very like North cold tundra inspired. We have characters that have blood of the gods that have since been defeated and are basically trapped or sleeping or slain, and these people that have the blood of the gods are not welcome in society. And we follow 3 different main characters throughout all 3 books, traversing this land, meeting up their respective clans. There is a group of mercenaries, there is a group of soldiers, the Bloodsworn, that use their powers for good, some would say. This is just one of the most comprehensive and very dark and unforgiving fantasies I've read in a long time. The gods are absolutely incredible, and this is also my favorite cover of the 3. What are you sniffing over there? You get your sniffer out the window? I just love everything about this. This was really heartbreaking as well, and honestly just a perfect way to end a trilogy, which again, I have had a little bit of rough luck this year with finishing trilogies, but this one was a perfect ending. No notes, 5 stars, all 3 books. Definitely a recommendation, even though it's not part of the series that I'm going to talk about here in a minute. I should hush up because Empire of the Dawn had to be on this list. I'm still thinking about it a week after finishing it. I will link that vlog up on the screen that I actually ended up finishing this book in. And I take back I don't take back what I said. I have had a rough year for trilogies, but this one was another amazing ending to a trilogy. I mean, this world is so unique for vampires. It's very French inspired. I mean, they're hefty. All 3 books are pretty thick like this. I just think we get some of the best storytelling, some of the best fantasy writing, romance, heartbreak, found family. I honestly don't have anything but amazing things to say about this series, and I could probably have a whole vlog where I deep dive and dissect this world because it is so comprehensive, so vast. The map is beautiful. The artwork, especially in Empire of the Dawn, you don't need spicy books. You just need J. Kristoff. I'm just saying, he does a fantastic job even with those scenes in these books, which there are a few because vampires just as a creature are such sensual beings. And I think J. Kristoff really balances the fear and the desire that vampires kind of throw at creatures, people. I thought this was a very satisfying ending to the series. I did think it was a little long in the middle for this book. This one definitely feels like the longest one in the series, but again, I have no notes. This was a 5, 6, 7 star. I'm still thinking about it. Everything was satisfying and concluded in a very satisfying way, and honestly, the ending just... it gives me goosebumps now just to think about it. So definitely pick this series up next year if you're looking for your next completed vampire series. This has to be at the top of your list. The next book that I want to talk about, I wish I had a physical copy of. I do not quite yet, but it is Of Monsters and Mainframes by Barbara Truelove. This is my favorite sci-fi read of the year for sure. I wish it had won the award on the Goodreads challenge. I'm gonna put up on the screen what won, but I absolutely loved this. It is following our main character, Demeter, who is a passenger ship in a world where space travel is very commercialized and kind of equivalent to going on a cruise ship. And that's all she wants to do. But then some classic horror monsters show up and start wreaking havoc on her systems. And we have, again, a lot of these books just have found family. Like, this was the year that I just really wanted to read about people coming together. And I think that's probably a pretty good way of describing how it's been dealing with just being alive in 2025, wanting to just have that feeling of togetherness. So another great found family, but with AI and what it could do for the good of humanity. It had some really great kid characters, kind of seeing them grow up, and a little twist with that caught me by surprise. The introduction of those classic characters that we're used to. This book was also very queer, space opera, very funny, very sarcastic. Perfect. One of my favorite covers that I've ever seen. Absolutely have to get my hands on a copy. If you are looking for a good starter sci-fi book, this is going to be your jam because it has humor and it has love and it has really likable characters. It has tense moments, but it's very accessible. It's not heavy on like space travel and light years and jargon, which, like, if you've read Murderbot Diaries, those books can be pretty forward in the language and the sci-fi and the jargon kind of thrown at you from the beginning, but this one has just a really nice blend of those horror elements. It's very quirky. It's very, very fun. I, again, cannot wait to get a copy because it's just so beautiful. Okay, the next book that I have to also get a copy of is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Huang. This book, again, one of the most unique magic systems I've ever read. It's basically typewriters that can kind of create spells into, bring spells into fruition, kind of the power of, just a beautiful allegory for the power of the written word. And really, by the end of this book, you are not questioning the power of the written word. And we have two main characters that come from two completely different factions, one of a lower caste in this world and one of a higher, more academic one. And these two characters, their paths kind of converging, and the friendship that grows between them and what it means for the conflict that is happening within like this magical school system that we have here. And it's probably my favorite standalone fantasy book that I've ever read. I mean, I have no notes. I think the character development from start to finish, for it not being like a huge, thick book, it being a reasonably paced and actually well-paced and reasonably sized length, if you will, fantasy. It was a very satisfying beginning, middle, end. There, like, I just was left, honestly, with my jaw dropped. It packs a very big emotional punch. This is another one that I'd love to get a copy of and maybe reread in 2026. So absolutely recommend. I have read Sword of Kaigen and I did not, unfortunately, connect with it as much as I did with Blood Over Brighthaven. I did read Blood Over Brighthaven before I read Sword of Kaigen, which I don't know if that truly matters, but that's just the order that it happened in. And I honestly, I have nothing bad to say about Sword of Kaigen. I just really, really, really still think about Blood Over Brighthaven. But regardless, this is definitely an auto-buy author for me in 2026 and will probably be on my reread list for 2026 as well. Okay, the last book that I want to talk about before we go to the honorary top 3 series that I finished this year, last book, is Between Two Fires by Christopher Beuhlman. I just read this about a month ago and I am still thinking about it. It is such a deep and somehow felt like it was over in an instant and beautiful story about a young girl who joins a disgruntled knight and an exiled priest to travel to the city in France to try and save the world, basically, because they're not sure if this young girl is a demon or she's an angel, but there's certainly something going on with her. And we pick up with these characters traveling across the countryside, trying to fight against the plague as best as they can. And again, this was just my year of found family. This one is the epitome of found family, but I just really like the angel lore. I have been reading a couple of other books that kind of remind me of that show, The OA, if anyone has watched that on Netflix. And I just have been really interested in reading books that are kind of based off of that, like heaven versus hell, angels versus demons type of book. And this book is called Between Two Fires. It's like devil on your shoulder, angel on your shoulder. So I really, really liked this, and it honestly is probably another one that I'm gonna need to reread because I was able to borrow it on Libby, but it is being picked up as a traditional publish, I think, by Tor in March 26. It was self-published in 2012, I think, if my research is not failing me. And now I have to wait for a hardcover to come out in 2026, which is fine, something to look forward to. But yeah, that is my list of my top 10 books of 2025. Now, I am going to take a few sips of water gratuitously. I'm going to let my camera slow the fuck down with the battery, okay, because it's on fire. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about my favorite series. We're back at it. Real quick, let's finish up. I don't want to grab them because there's a lot of them. You probably can't see where I'm pointing right there. I'll put them up on the screen anyway. For my top 3 series that I completed this year, which 2026 is going to see me completing a lot more. Stay tuned. I need to make a list of all my current series. But The Dark Tower by Stephen King. I can't even begin to explain to you how insane this saga is. It was a 20+ year writing experiment for Stephen King, and it absolutely pays off in the end. Now, I will say, in very typical and interesting Stephen King fashion, my ratings do change kind of from book to book, but overall, this is a 6-star no notes series. I love everything about this. I love Roland. Again, I'm so sick of me saying found family, but it's just one of my favorite tropes. It almost never can go wrong, in my opinion, and this one is the epitome of it. I mean, we are caught. Time is a wheel, and just all of the Easter eggs and bits and pieces from the rest of Stephen King's world that we get in this series, and just how fantastical but also close to the heart that the story is all at the same time. Immaculate. I highly recommend. It's definitely an undertaking. There are a lot of books in this series, and some of them are pretty chunky, especially towards the end, but the payoff is, I promise you, in my opinion, it is there. The next series that is in my top 3 is the completed trilogy, the Tawny Man trilogy, that is part of the Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. Now, this series is, I believe, 16 books long, and this is just one of the trilogies within that bigger piece of writing. I just buddy read this earlier this year with Allie, and this was so good. It picks back up with Fitz where we left him, and he has a new quest to kind of really redeem himself from the first book up through Fool's Fate, and we have dragons. The dragons are back in action, but I just love everything about this world and these characters, and Robin Hobb has a very pastoral, very slow and character-driven writing style. There can be pages and pages where it feels like nothing is happening, but the characters, you just grow so attached to them throughout these interconnected trilogies, and I'm still thinking about this one, and I can't wait to finish the Realm of the Elderlings in 26. That is absolutely going to happen. We have the Dragon Keeper series up next, so very excited. Another one I feel like I've yapped a lot about, I feel like I'm still thinking about, and that is the Greenbone Saga by Fonda. I absolutely love these books. I had seen Jade City in bookstores for years and years and years and always wanted to pick it up, and then one day I did, and then Allie also sent me a copy, so I donated the one that I bought myself, and this is the copy that she got me. As soon as I picked it up earlier this year, I had to go and immediately pick up books 2 and 3 and binge them, which I think I read a lot of these in a vlog. I'll link it if I can find it somewhere on the screen. This series is very Eastern Asian inspired and follows 2 warring gangs in this empire that is fueled by magic powered by jade jewelry. You can either wield it or you can't, and it also kind of creates a divided society based on the magic wielders and the non-magic users, and these books just span generations, and there are gunfights, there are gang fights, there is travel, there's espionage, there is romance, lots and lots and lots of violence and death. Like, this is a very intense world, and I think Fonda just made us care about all these characters even when they were at their darkest and lowest points, and it's a very gritty, very violent fantasy with a lot of modern touches and a very interesting magic system and political system related to the magic system. I would love to reread these if only I had the time. I bet the audiobooks for these are probably fantastic. So with that, thank you so much for watching. If any of these books sparked your interest or we share any of the same favorites, please let me know in the comments. If you made it to the end of this, leave me a book emoji down below, or let me know what your favorite book of the year was in the comments. Again, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I would love to get me talking about more books out to more of you people on the internet. Okay, I've been on one tonight. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye!